Hi guys, welcome to Gaming Watcher. My name is Rolson, and in this video I'll give you my review of Hitman 3 that just released. I want to disclaim already at the beginning of this video that I'm a huge fan of the Hitman series. I've played it since the very first game came out. I was sitting at home with my very good childhood friend, and I remember we were sitting as kids together playing the first Hitman game and was just blown away. Like, we had never seen anything like that before. You had so much freedom of choice. You could kill these targets in so many different ways, and it was just amazing. And this model has kept on evolving through the years, and I've kept on loving each and every single game that they've put out. Yes, there has been ups and downs. Some games in the series are better than other games in the series, but overall it is one of my all-time favorite series, and I'm always excited when a new Hitman game comes out. So as well with the third one here, I was very excited when it came out, and I've been loving it. I just finished it yesterday. It's very short, just like Hitman 2 and Hitman 1 actually. They're very short playthroughs, but it's not the point that you should just play through them once. I'll get back to that. But yeah, it's a very short playthrough, but it was fantastic. It was a fantastic finale for this series, this trilogy that they just made, this World of Assassination trilogy with Hitman 1 in 2016 all the way to Hitman 3 now. And by the way, let's just applaud that IO Interactive actually released 3 AAA titles within 4 years. That's mind-blowing in itself. The fact that they actually pulled that off and released 3 titles within 4 years. That is amazing. So, good job, IO Interactive. So, what did I think about Hitman 3? Well, Hitman 3 is more story-driven than the other 2 games in this series, and I really liked that. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like Hitman Absolution because it was too story driven, and this Hitman 3 can feel a bit like Absolution. It's very story driven. You don't have the same feeling in the levels of being completely free to roam around everywhere and do everything that you want to do, or anything that you want to do. Especially in some of the last levels, it actually gets a little bit linear. A little bit. It's not totally linear, but like, it's more story driven like that, more linear like that. And it's still like, it's a little bit. It's not like a totally like linear experience. You still have all the freedom of choice that you're used to having. It's just yeah, you will see. I don't want to spoil anything, so it's hard to get into about the story, but you are guided a little bit more than you're used to with Hitman games, story-wise. So there is kind of a through line that you follow that is not only in cutscenes, and by the way, they made real cutscenes for this game, not just those still frames. So that was nice. We already got a little bit of that in the expansion for Hitman 2, but they did that the whole way through Hitman 3, so I think that was a really nice addition. I think it was my favorite playthrough in this trilogy, but I don't know about the replayability. I think Hitman 2 might be the one that has the best replayability. I think they added some extra stuff in Hitman 3 that is really nice for replayability, which I'll get to. If we just start with focusing on the storyline and the playthrough, I think that was amazing. That was the best finale they could have for this trilogy. The story you can agree or disagree with. I've heard many different opinions about it. It didn't bother me. I didn't think it was like amazingly deep and profound, but I think it was a great story. It had twists and turns. It had exciting moments where you just wanted to see what happened next, and it also changed up the gameplay in ways I can't explain, because then I'll spoil some of the story points for you. So it's really awesome. The graphics are amazing. They upgraded the graphics engine for this game, and also that actually applies to Hitman 2 and Hitman 1. If you buy Hitman 3 and you buy the access pass, so you have access to all of your content from Hitman 2 and Hitman 1, those maps also are upgraded with this new graphics engine, so everything just looks amazing. And the locations and the maps in this game looks absolutely incredible. They are by far the best maps in this series. I really think so. The level design in this game it's on another level. Like, IO Interactive has always been very good at level design. That is like the foundation of a good Hitman experience, is an awesome level design. But they just take it to the next level in Hitman 3. It's really, these maps are amazing. Like, there's this one map that I can tell you about without spoiling anything, that I thought was especially incredible, where you start off in this city. You've probably seen video footage of this city. There's a lot of like neon lights. It looks kind of synth wavy, I want to say, with a lot of purple and green lights and stuff like that. It looks awesome, especially with this new graphics engine. So you start off on this street level, and you have to do some stuff up here, and then you get access to this whole underground, I want to say lab, but it's not really a lab, but let's call it that. Like a huge underground lab where there are several levels that you can go down, and there are several security levels that you have to get access to go further down. And it was just like, it felt like this awesome journey that just the street level part, the city part, could have been a map in itself. But it didn't stop there. It just kept going underground, down into this huge lab facility underground, where you could just keep going further down. It was such a huge map, and it was so awesome that I remember by the end of the map, I had forgotten like where it started. I felt like I had been in there forever, and I had kind of lost myself in that. It was so long ago that I started the descent from the street level down, and it just dawned on me at that moment, like, wow, this level has been so incredible that there's been so many things happening that I almost forgot that I started up on the street level. That felt like a whole mission in itself, the street level part, and then you go down, and then there's a whole nother mission, and then there's a whole third mission, and it just keeps on evolving. And it was just, that map was an amazing experience, and I can't wait to go back and play it again and try different things. But just to say that, like, the aesthetics and the graphics are the best that we have ever seen in any Hitman game in Hitman 3. And I would say the same for conversation. If you listen in on conversations wherever you are, they are always hilarious, always interesting. You know, that's one of my favorite things about Hitman, is like, they've got so much humor, and also they've got so much, you know, irony about themselves and about the game, and they know what is ridiculous about this game, and they make fun of themselves, and I love them for that. They don't try to hide it or try to seem like they're perfect or whatever. They just admit, yeah, the AI is stupid, and now we're gonna have them say something stupid as well, to just emphasize how ridiculous this is. But it just makes it so funny, because you, as a player and as a fan, you know what are the rules of the Hitman universe, and there are certain rules. For example, one rule could be, if you see someone dragging a body and they run away, and then someone comes that looks exactly like the guy who was dragging the body, but he has different clothes on, then it's not the same guy. That is one of the rules of the Hitman universe, and it's absolutely ridiculous, and they know that, so they kind of make fun of themselves through dialogue. And there's so many interesting dialogues going on everywhere you are. So sometimes you just want to stop and listen. Sometimes in the middle of a mission, I've just heard someone say something, and I stop and listen to the whole conversation, because I'm like, what did that person just say? Yeah, so they really outdid themselves with this game, I think, in terms of the whole setting, destinations, the dialogue, the story, the missions, and how they unfold is also different from the other two games. There's a lot more like small story elements that kind of ties everything together, whereas in the other games it was kind of like, okay, you have a mission and then there's some story content in between, and it's very separate. Like the mission ends, then you get some cutscene stuff, then you get a new mission, then you get a new cutscene, then you get a new mission. And in Hitman 3, it's kind of like it's more like weaved together in one long story. Even though it is separate levels and separate missions, and it works in the same way that you plan your mission and then you play it and so on. It's hard to explain without spoiling any specific moments, but I just want to say they nailed that. They nailed I want to say they nailed the mix that Hitman Absolution did not nail. Hitman Absolution was too story driven, too linear. This is just on that fine balance where you're not too limited by the story, but the story is still driving the game forward, as opposed to the story being kind of this like secondary peripheral thing that is not really felt in the gameplay. So yeah, I think this was the best game of this trilogy. Gameplay is still solid. They added a few things. It's not a lot. It can be counted on one hand, I think. They added a camera that you can take pictures with, of course, and you can hack stuff with your camera for some reason. It's a high-tech camera, apparently. I was kind of afraid that was like a one-trick pony, that camera, that okay, so sometimes there will be a security panel and I can like scan it with the camera and I will hack it, and that's it. But that's not the only thing that it's used for. It's actually used for a lot of different things throughout the game, so I think they really made that count, that addition. And then there's another addition where you can unlock these shortcuts. Sometimes there will be doors or ladders or something that is kind of locked with these yellow bars. Sometimes you can, when you go around to the other side of the door, for example, you can unlock it from the other side. That will then be a shortcut that you have forever unlocked in that level. So next time you play through that level, that shortcut will be unlocked. And that makes the replayability even more attractive, because you can make the level different. You can make the ways that you can move around in a level different. But you can also just make it easier for yourself. It's been an amazing playthrough and I really enjoyed it, and I've already begun replaying the maps from the first one and doing challenges and so on, and it's just, I didn't encounter one similar situation. I solved it in a completely different way, met completely different people, followed completely different storylines, complicated storylines. That's a thing that I really think that they nailed also in Hitman 2 actually, but they kind of progressed it even more in Hitman 3. It's like those storylines, mission stories that you can kind of attach yourself to and then follow through these storylines to complete the mission. They are so good and so fleshed out and so interesting that you want to play through all of the different storylines in each map, and it feels like a completely different experience each time. Hitman is a puzzle game in its essence. It's not like a stealth game or an action game. In its essence, Hitman is a puzzle game. And the amazing thing about the replayability is that you can solve the same puzzle in a million different ways. And some of them are planned out by the developer and scripted out, and you can follow those and get interesting stories. But you can also make your own solutions. And there's a million of those. And they're all fun to pull off, and it's challenging, but it's also so satisfying to kind of find all of these clues and put the puzzle pieces together and see it all work. That's the beauty of these Hitman games. If you have not played any of the Hitman games before, I wouldn't recommend playing this. I would recommend starting with the first one, not the very first one from 2000, but the first one of this trilogy from 2016. I think the first one from 2000 still holds up. It's not that. I think it's still fun. Like, if you're really interested and you're really nerdy and you can do stuff like that, I would recommend playing all of the Hitman games and then finishing with the third one. But if you're like a normal person, I would really recommend starting with the first one from 2016 and then going through this trilogy chronologically. Is that what it's called? You know what I mean, like linear, like from the first to, okay, you get it. I would recommend that because the story here is a continuous story through all of the 3 games. So I wouldn't recommend just starting with this one if you haven't really played any of the other games. If you have though, I would not just buy it. This was another game review from Gaming Watcher. I hope that you enjoyed it. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure to leave a like on the video to let me know that you enjoy the content. If you have this game and you have thoughts about it, please leave a comment as well. I would love to hear what you guys think about Hitman 3 if you played it, or the other games in the series, or what you think about this whole World of Assassination trilogy. I would love to get into a discussion about that because I think it's brilliant, but I've heard other people who thinks it's a really shitty idea, and especially the kind of like seasonal or episodic release of the maps that they have done. A lot of people has been not so happy about that. So if you have any thoughts about that, please leave a comment and let's talk about it. And yeah, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel because then you're awesome. And you want to be awesome, right? So subscribe to the channel if you want to be awesome. If you don't want to be awesome, that's okay. And thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video.